Hi, this is Jenny Brav of Radiant Wholeness Healing, and today we're going to be tapping on big feelings. I have other videos that are on specific emotions like fear or grief or anger, anxiety, overwhelm. But today I want to look at them together because sometimes we don't know what the emotion is, and especially for those of us who identify as highly sensitive, although this can be true for anybody, we often had the sense, especially when we were younger, of having really big emotions. Maybe we didn't have words for them at all. And we got the message that they were too much. We might have been punished for the big emotions, which really gives the message that we have to contain them and that they're scary and dangerous and bad. Or we might have been given a timeout until we were calm, which then gave us the sense that we were on our own with all these big emotions and had to figure out what to do with them. We might have been told to use our words, which can be helpful sometimes, but especially in a moment of dysregulation, might not feel available. We might feel like we're somehow failing, or we might have been called oversensitive, made fun of for our emotions. So all of those messages would have led us to disconnect from our emotions, to view them as being wrong, not okay, to somehow have to contain or suppress or change them. And the truth is, big emotions are a measure of our heart, our ability to feel. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. And really, what they need more of is space. Because if we're having big emotions and those have a lot of space to just be, to be felt, to be okay and enough, then they don't seem as big. The smaller the container, the bigger they're going to feel. So we're going to drop in and just get a sense of where these might live in your body, messages you received about them, and then we'll do some tapping and a closing meditation. So I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable. And start to notice where you're feeling those big emotions. What are the indicators? You might feel tightness in your solar plexus, jitteriness, or a weight in your chest. You might feel the pinprick of tears. Your jaw might get really tight. Whatever it is, just noticing, breathing as you do. And if you already have a tapping practice, if the dropping in brings up big emotions itself, if you're already in them, feel free to tap as we're checking in and noticing. And feeling into any secondary emotions that might accompany the big ones. Is there shame, frustration, powerlessness about having all these big emotions? And again, if there's no name for them, that's totally fine as well. And then feeling into whether you have any beliefs about these big emotions, anything you're telling yourself, about this might be that it's not okay, or this is ridiculous, being so dramatic, stupid. And there might not be a label, but if there is, just allowing it to be here, knowing that it is not necessarily the truth. In fact, I would posit it is never the truth. It's just a belief developed to make sense of things. And feeling into whether or not there's an age associated with these beliefs, with the feelings. Might be an age range, or you might get a memory, or just a felt sense of something, like of being mocked or punished or sitting in a corner. Or feeling at the mercy of the big emotions. Whatever it is, it might be very different from what I'm describing, and you might get this with any of your senses. And taking a deep breath. And then we're going to jump in and start tapping. And at the end, we're going to do a meditation once we've released some of this to anchor in a different possibility, a different way we can be with these big emotions. So tapping on the side of your hand, and you can repeat after me in your head or out loud, modifying the words as need be to resonate more fully with your experience. Even though I'm having big emotions, and it's hard for me to identify what they are, and I got the message a long time ago that I need to contain them, suppress them, manage and control them, do whatever I needed to not feel them. I'm open to loving and accepting myself and my big emotions deeply and completely at some point, whenever I'm ready. Good, deep breath. So many emotions inside of the eyebrows, so big outside of the eyes. High, big emotions under the eyes. I feel you under and above the lips. I accept you under the collarbone. Or I'm learning to, at least, middle of sternum. Because part of me knows, ribs, that you're an expression of my big heart. Side of the body, and the part of me that cares. wrist. And I acknowledge the part of me, other wrist, that does not accept these big emotions, head at all, inside of the eyebrows, and wants them to go away outside of the eyes. Stat under the eyes. I see you. Under and above the lips. I feel you. Under the collarbone. I acknowledge how hard you're working. Middle sternum. To manage, control, ribs, transform, side of the body, diminish these big emotions. Rest. Because they are so overwhelming. Other wrist. And you are afraid that these big emotions all over the head are going to overwhelm you. Inside of the eyebrows, that you're going to feel out of control. Outside of the eyes, feel embarrassed. Under the eyes, get in trouble. Under and above the lips, be judged. Under the collarbone, breathe. Middle sternum. It's okay to be afraid. Ribs. I am so sorry. Side of the body. That you got the message. Wrist. That your big emotions, other wrist, were too much. All over the head, were shameful. Inside of the eyebrows were wrong. Outside of the eyes made you less than. Under the eyes meant you were out of control. Under and above the lips, weak. Under the collarbone, too sensitive. Middle sternum, so dramatic. Ribs. Breathe. And feel free to add any messages you received about your big emotions. And I'll just name the points: side of the body or under the armpits. Wrist. Other wrist. Breathe. Head. Hi, younger me. Inside of the eyebrows. I see you. Outside of the eyes. I feel you. Under the eyes. Under those circumstances, under and above the lips, it was so smart and brave of you. Under the collarbone to do what you needed to do. Middle sternum. To try to manage and control and suppress ribs, these big emotions. Side of the body. Maybe you dissociated from your body altogether. Wrist. Learn to go into your head. Other wrist. Develop a story. Head to explain why you are feeling this way. Inside of the eyebrows to blame something external for it. Outside of the eyes to defend, justify. Under the eyes. Or maybe you learn to shut them down under and above the lips. And maybe to shut down completely under the collarbone. High freeze response, middle of the sternum. High head, ribs. High any part of me that helped me contain and suppress. Side of the body. I acknowledge my eyes, wrist, and tear ducts. Other wrist that might have learned to suppress the tears. Tapping all over the head. I acknowledge my mouth and jaw and neck. Inside of the eyebrows that learned to clamp down on my feelings. Outside of the eyes, especially from expressing them. Under the eyes, I acknowledge any part of me that's still holding under and above the lips, the unprocessed emotions. Under the collarbone, maybe in my heart. Middle of the sternum, my belly. Ribs. Any part of me that learned to brace. Side of the body, go into hypervigilance. Wrist, the self-abandon. Other wrist. That is exactly what I had to do back then. All over the head. And the good news is, inside of the eyebrows, my circumstances are different now. Outside of the eyes, I have tools I didn't have back then under the eyes. And more agency and choice under and above the lips. It's possible I don't need to be afraid under the collarbone of my emotions any longer. Middle sternum. It's possible I never needed to be afraid of them. Ribs. That there was never anything wrong with my emotions. Side of the body. But rather it was other humans, rest, who had learned that their emotions were not welcome or valid. Other rest, who didn't know what to do with them. Tapping all over the head. And I forgive myself inside of the eyebrows for recreating that very thing outside of the eyes for myself. Under the eyes. Breathe. Maybe make noise, shake it out. Under and above the lips. Hi, big emotions. Under the collarbone. I am sorry that I've been suppressing you. Middle of the sternum, putting you in timeout. Ribs going into my head, side of the body, into story. Wrist trying to suppress or justify you. Wrist all the while leaving you alone. All over again, head to regulate inside of the eyebrows without a safe container outside of the eyes to hold you. Under the eyes in a way that gives you so much space to breathe. Under and above the lips, but also helps you feel welcome. Under the collarbone. It's possible I'm ready for a new way of being with my big emotions. Middle sternum, breathe. It's possible all they need is compassion, ribs, and more space. Breathe. And let's pause. Let's gather from your neural pathways all the messages that you received about big emotions, about yourself with the big emotions, and the subsequent coping strategies you developed, like suppressing them, trying to put yourself in time out, going into your head, trying to change your state without actually addressing them. Whatever it might be, beating yourself up for them, ridiculing yourself, just recognizing that that's what you felt you had to do based on the messages you were getting and the meaning you made of those messages. And let's acknowledge the beliefs and the coping strategies, thanking them for how they served you, served your younger self. And we can either just put it down for now if that's what feels available, or if you feel ready to, again, there's no should, no pressure. We can send all of this to your higher self, to the light of source, to an element like the earth for composting, the air, water for dissolving, fire for transmutation. Releasing any cords that are still tying you to those beliefs, to coping strategies. And once we've released them, let's gather the big emotions from your nervous system, from the place in your body that's trying to contain them. And nod to them. And let's also welcome in, if it's appropriate, any younger self that was just feeling what they were feeling and then got the message that that wasn't okay. Just welcoming back your younger self, letting them know that they were perfect. There was nothing wrong with them. It was never their fault. And maybe sending an apology to the emotions for how they were made wrong, for how you might be carrying on that message to this day. and feeling how when they were compressed in your body, when you were trying to suppress them or make them go away or transform them without actually welcoming or addressing them, making them wrong, how tight and compact that felt in your body. And now let's feel, sense, imagine that we are just making a lot more space. We're inviting all these big feelings into the sky, the ocean, a big field, whatever feels really spacious. And as you do, surrounding them with the energy of love and compassion so that the big feelings both feel like they're being held and like there's just a lot of space for them to be as they are, no story, no label even needed. We don't need to know what the emotion is. We definitely don't need to know why or who's to blame. Just saying hi to the big emotions, making space for them to run, to stretch their limbs, to self-express in a way that is not harmful to self or others. Maybe that's through movement, voice, energetic movement, or intention or expression. And as you do, notice if either your emotions themselves or your higher self that is helping you hold this frequency of love has a message, a transmission, a healing for you. And from here, maybe sensing, feeling, imagining that you are merging, stepping into a version of yourself that's already in harmony with your big feelings, has reclaimed them, made space for them, knows that they're just an expression of the other side of your big heart, your beautiful sensitivity, knowing that that is a gift and a superpower. Even though it might also have challenges attached to it. And imprinting this feeling of being merged with this version of you and inequalities that might come from it. Maybe you feel more in alignment and flow, at peace, joyful, content, accepting, whatever it might be. Anchoring that through your crown into your neural pathways, rewiring the neural pathways, and bring that into your nervous system, rewiring your nervous system for this to become the default, and bringing all that into your heart, filling all four chambers of your heart with this feeling. When you're ready, letting it radiate back out, sending it up and down the timelines, the lifetimes, the generations. and tapping all over your body, shaking it out, touching something grounding and sending the merits of this healing to any people, places, beings that could use this healing around big emotions. Thank you so much. And please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave comments to help with the algorithm and so that more people can find this video.